Life has a way of surprises, not always a way in the best way. Sometimes the people we trust most end up causing us the deepest wounds. It could be a betrayal from someone you consider family, or words from someone you love that cut deeper than a knife. And in that moment, when your heart is pounded and your mind is flooded with emotions, the instinct is to strike back. That instinct to get even, to make them feel the pain they made you feel, that's human. But let me tell you something I had to learn the hard way. Just because it's natural doesn't mean it's right. You've got to pause. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying you won't feel like exploding. But when someone hurts you badly, the first thing you need to do is stop. Breathe. Step back. Because if you move in the heat of that pain, you're not thinking. And reactions born from pain often create more pain for you and everyone around you. I've learned that it's in that pause that you regain control. It's in that silence, in that breath, where you decide the kind of person you truly want to be. When you don't pause, when you let that hurt hijack your peace, you give the person who hurt you more power than they ever deserve. And I refuse to give anyone that kind of power over me. See? When you react out of anger, you're still letting them control your story. But when you stop, when you pause, you're taking that pen back. You're saying, no, you don't get to write my next chapter. There was a time in my life when my emotions run the show, someone hurt me deeply. Emotionally, psychologically, and every part of me wanted revenge. I wanted them to feel humiliated. I wanted them to suffer. But I realized that the more I obsessed over what they did, the more I stayed stuck in that pain. And pain, it's a terrible place to live. So I had a choice. I could let them keep hurting me through my own thoughts and actions, or I could take that pause, protect my peace, and move on. And protecting your peace, that's not, that's active. It means surrounding yourself with people who uplift you. It means creating space to heal. It means doing the work, going to therapy if you need to, reflecting, journaling, praying, whatever helps you clear the fog. Because when your mind is clear, you start to see things differently. You start to realize that revenge isn't the answer. It's a detour that keeps you from real healing. We live in a world that glorifies retaliation. Music, movies, even our culture sometimes celebrates the idea of getting even. But what they don't show you is the weight that revenge puts on your soul. They don't show you the sleepless nights, the guilt, the endless cycle of what if and should haves. But I'll tell you right now, peace is lighter than revenge. Peace lets you sleep at night. Peace gives you the strength to smile again. Not because you forgot what happened, but because you've risen above it. When you pause and protect your peace, you're not ignoring the pain. You're acknowledging it. You're saying, that hurt me. Yes, it changed me. But no, it will not define me. That's strength. That's power. Anyone can lash out. But it takes real strength to stay still, to feel everything, and still choose not to be consumed by it. And here's something else. Sometimes the person who hurt you is expecting you to react. They're waiting for the chaos. They want to see you spiral. And when you don't give them that satisfaction, when you remain grounded, it disarms them. It confuses them. It shows them that your peace, your character, your dignity are not up for negotiation. That's the kind of response that speaks volumes without saying a word. So the next time someone hurts you, badly, remember this, take that pause. Let the storm settle inside you before you speak, before you act. Give yourself space to think, because in that space, in that quiet moment of reflection, you reclaim your power. You don't have to get even. You just have to get free. Let's be real. If someone wrongs you, especially when it's deep and personal, your mind goes there. That place where you start picturing how to make them pay. You think about what you could say to tear them down, what you could do to show them they messed with the wrong one. It's like a fire gets lit inside you, and in that moment, revenge feels like justice. Like the only way to balance the scales is to make them feel just as broken as you feel. I've been there. I know what that heat feels like. But I also know where that path leads. And I promise you, it doesn't go anywhere good. See, revenge is tricky. It pretends to be strength. It disguises itself as power. But the truth is, revenge doesn't fix anything. It just adds fuel to a fire that's already burning out of control. The hurt that was done to you, that's already painful enough. But when you go after revenge, you're choosing to carry that pain even longer. You're choosing to keep the wound open rather than letting it heal. I've watched people throw away relationships, reputations, and even their peace of mind chasing payback. And for what? For a few moments of satisfaction. That satisfaction fades. It always does. And what you're left with is a bigger mess, one that you helped create. Now you're not just the one who got hurt, you're also the one who hurt back. And deep down, that never sits right, because most of us don't want to become like the people who wronged us. Most of us don't want to mirror the same pain we've been trying to escape from. Well, here's something we don't talk about enough. Revenge doesn't free you. It binds you. It ties you to the very person you want to be rid of. Think about that. Every time you think about what they did, every time you plan your move, you act on it. You're giving them space in your head and energy from your soul. They already took something from you. Why give them more? I remember one time I was so consumed with what someone had done to me, I couldn't think straight. I was angry. I was hurt. And I kept going over it in mind, what I should say, what I should do, how I could make them regret ever crossing me. But every time I played that movie in my head, I was just reliving the pain. I was keeping myself trapped in a prison they had built for me. And the crazy thing is, they hadn't moved on. They weren't even thinking about it. I was the one stuck. And that's what revenge does. It tricks you into thinking you're taking control, when really you're just extending the damage. So what do instead? You process it, you feel it, and then you let it go before you. Because holding on to that anger doesn't make you strong. Learning how to release it does. I'm not saying you forget. I'm not saying you pretend it didn't hurt. You acknowledge it. You honor it. But you also rise above it. You decide that your peace is worth more than payback, that your future is more important than reliving the past. We've all seen people who've been consumed by vengeance. They start out hurt, and over time, they become bitter, angry, even cruel. And the saddest part, they don't even realize they've changed. They think they're standing up for themselves, but really, they're losing parts of who they were. Don't let that happen to you. Don't let someone's actions pull you so far away from your truth that you can't recognize yourself anymore. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away, not because you're weak, not because you're letting them off the hook, but because you know that revenge would only give your pain more room to grow. And you've made the choice to grow in a different direction. More power. You real control. Then learn how to sit with your hurt without letting it harden you. Learn how to respond with grace when every part of you wants to lash out. Learn how to move forward without dragging the past with you. That's power. That's strength. That's healing. So the next time that desire for revenge creeps in, and it will, remember this, you can't build your peace on someone else's destruction. You know, when someone does you wrong, when they really hurt you, it's so easy to get stuck in that place where all you can think about is what happened. You replay the moment. You think about everything you should have said, everything you could have done. And before you know it, that hurt becomes part of you. It lives in your chest. It colors how you see the world. And without even realizing it, it starts to change you. That's why I say, when someone hurts you badly, don't take revenge. Just grow. Now, I know that sounds simple, maybe even soft, but growth, real growth, that's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It takes more courage to look at your pain and say, I'm going to use this, than it does to lash out and try to get even. Growth means asking yourself some tough questions. What did I learn? How can I get stronger from this? How do I make sure this doesn't break me? Because pain, if you let it, can become your greatest teacher. It's not fair. It's not right. But sometimes the worst things that happen to us end up pushing us toward becoming the best version of ourselves, if we're willing to take that path. See, when you choose growth over grudges, you're making a decision not to let the person who hurt you win. Because if you stay angry, if you stay bitter, they still have power over you. They've still got a grip on your heart. But when you grow, when you take that pain and use it to build something stronger inside you, that's when you take your power back. I've been through seasons in my life where I was holding on to things for so long. I didn't even realize how heavy it had all become. Anger, resentment, disappointment. It all started to pile up. I walk into a room already expecting to be disrespected. I braced myself for betrayal. I wasn't growing. I was trying to guard him. I just survived. And surviving isn't living. It's reacting. It's staying stuck in that same chapter, reading the same lines over and over again, hoping it'll end differently. But growth is turning the page. It's saying that chapter hurt, but it's not the whole story. Growth is waking up one day and deciding, I don't want to be this angry anymore. I don't want to carry this pain around like it's part of who I am. And when you start to grow, you start to see everything differently. You start setting boundaries, not out of fear, but out of love for yourself. You start choosing peace over chaos. You stop looking back, not because you're pretending it didn't happen, but because you're too busy building something better up ahead. It doesn't you're up ahead. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're letting anybody off the hook. Growth and excuse was done to you. It just means you're refusing to let it control you. You're refusing to shrink, using to let someone else's actions define your identity. And here's the beautiful part. When you grow, you begin to inspire others to do the same. The people around you see your strength. They see how you handled the hurt with grace, how you chose not to retaliate, how you kept your head up when you could fall apart. That's powerful leadership. That's a legacy. I'm telling you right now, the most dangerous person in the world is someone who's been broken but still chooses to heal. Someone who could have gotten revenge but chose to rebuild instead. Someone who could have lost themselves in hate but instead found their purpose in the pain. So when the hurt comes, and it will, don't shrink, don't hide, and don't reach for revenge. Use it. Let it strengthen your character. Let it refine your vision. Let it deepen your understanding of who you are and what you deserve. You can either let that pain bury you or you can let it plant you. And if you let it I promise, what grows from it will be more powerful, more beautiful, and more unshakable than you ever imagined. Choose growth. Every time, one of the hardest things to do when someone's hurt you badly is just wait, not to speak, not to act, just wait. And I get it. It feels like you're letting them get away with it. Like you're just sitting there, taking them, where they walk off like nothing happened. But I've learned, sometimes the most powerful thing you do is trust that justice in some form will come. Maybe not right away. Maybe not in the way you imagine. It always does. It's a kind of strength and patience that people don't talk about enough. We're taught to act fast, to clap back, to prove a point. But sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Not because you don't care, not because you're weak, but because you know the truth. You know who you are, and you trust that what's meant to come around will. You see, life has a way of evening things out. Call it karma, call it consequences, call it divine timing, whatever name you give it. The principle is the same. People don't get away with hurting others forever. There's always a price. And the wild thing is, you never see it happen. You may never get the apology. You may never see the regret on their face. But that's okay, because the peace you find in letting go is more valuable than any revenge you could plot. I've had people wrong me in ways that made my blood boil. I've had nights I couldn't sleep, just thinking about what I could do, what I could say, how I could flip the script. But every time I acted out of that energy, it backfired. I feel empty afterward. I feel like I stooped a level that wasn't really me. And worse, I still be hurt. I still be carrying all that pain. But now I had guilt mixed in with it. That's when I realized hurting someone back doesn't heal you. It just makes you part of the problem. There came a point when I had to say, let it go. Not because they deserve peace, but because I did. I deserve peace. I deserve freedom from carrying their actions on my back. And once I started trusting that life would handle what I couldn't, I felt lighter. I felt stronger. I started healing. What I've noticed is when you let go of the need for revenge, you open up space for something better to grow. Your energy shifts. You stop feeding the fire and you start building something solid inside you. And that quiet confidence, that calm, that's what unsettles people more than any revenge ever could. When they see you still smiling, still succeeding, that's power. That's justice. Because here's the truth, you don't need to force anything. You don't have to manipulate outcomes or try to control what happens to them. Just focus on you, on your healing, on your growth, on becoming someone who can walk away from a fire without letting the smoke follow them home. And maybe, just maybe, they'll have their moment one day, a moment where they finally see what they did, a moment when the weight of their choices catches up to them. But by then, you'll be far ahead. You won't be stuck in that moment anymore. You'll be living your life, not defined by that pain, but shaped by how you overcame it. It takes a strong person to trust in justice you can't see yet. It takes courage to move forward without needing closure. But I promise you, there's nothing more powerful than living in a way that proves you've healed. That proves you've risen. That proves you didn't let their actions decide your direction. So yeah, when someone hurts you, don't chase revenge. Don't waste your energy trying to teach them a lesson. Life will do that in ways you never could. What you focus on is your own peace, your own purpose, your own power. Because when you let karma or justice take its course, you free yourself from the weight of their wrongdoing. And that freedom, that's everything. Forgiveness. That word used to feel like a punch to the gut. I used to hear it and think, why should I forgive someone who hurt me? Why should they get off easy? And honestly, I think a lot of people feel that way. When the pain is fresh, when the wound is wide open, the idea of forgiving someone can feel impossible. Like you're giving up a piece of your dignity. Like you're saying what they did was okay. But let me tell you what I've learned in forgiveness isn't weakness. It's not surrender. It's not letting anyone off the hook. Forgiveness is power. It's the strongest thing you'll ever do. See, when you've been hurt, badly hurt, it sticks with you. That pain becomes a part of your story. And every time you remember it, every time you carry it, you're holding on to something heavy. Now, imagine carrying that every single day. Over time, it doesn't just affect your heart. It affects how you trust, how you speak, how you love. It becomes the lens you see life through. And the longer you hold on to that pain, the more it controls you. That's where forgiveness comes in. Not to erase what happened, but to release yourself from it. I'm not talking about putting everything is fine. I'm not talking about going back to people who broke you or acting like it didn't matter. No, forgiveness doesn't mean you forget. It doesn't mean you stay. Forgiveness means you've decided not to carry their mistake any further. You've decided their actions don't deserve permanent space in your mind or your spirit. There was a moment in my life when I had to forgive someone who had no idea just how deeply they hurt me. Never apologized. They never owned up to what they did. And I waited. I kept thinking, when they say sorry, I'll finally feel better. But that moment never came. And I realized my healing couldn't depend on their apology. I couldn't wait on them to make it right. I had to choose to start healing without them. That choice, that forgiveness. And it wasn't a one-time thing. Forgiveness is a process. Some days you feel strong and free, And other days, the memory hits you again and you feel that sting like it just happened. But the difference is you no longer let it control you. You remind yourself that this happened. Yes, it hurt, but I am moving forward anyway. We grow up with this idea that forgiving someone is a soft move. That if you let something go, you're weak. But here's what's really weak: letting someone else's actions keep you angry and stuck. That's easy. That's reaction. Forgiveness takes strength. It takes maturity. It takes discipline. You're not giving up your power. You're reclaiming it. Because when you forgive, you're saying, I want what you did to define how I live. I know some people are still waiting to forgive because they think it means everything has to go back to how it was. That's not true. Forgiveness isn't reconciliation. You don't have to open the door again just because you let go of the grudge. You can forgive someone, it's yourself, and still protect boundaries. Still walk away. Forgiveness just means you've stopped poisoning yourself with someone else's mistake. And here's something else. When you forgive, you start to breathe again. You stop clenching your fists every time that person's name comes up. You stop tensing up when the memory shows up. You stop rehearsing the anger in your mind over and over. You let peace in. And peace doesn't mean you're ignoring reality. It means you've chosen a better one. There's so much freedom in forgiveness. There's clarity. There's strength. And yeah, it's hard, especially when the person who hurt you doesn't deserve it. But forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you. It's so you can walk lighter, so you can love deeper, so you can move forward with dragging the pain behind you. So no, forgiveness isn't a weakness. It's the boldest, bravest choice you can make. When someone hurts you and you choose to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you do, that's when real healing begins. That's when you take your power back. When someone hurts you deeply, it can feel like your whole world shifts. Like every thought you knew about people, about trust, about safety, just gets shaken. And in those moments, it's easy to let that pain turn you cold. Easy to start believing that caring is a weakness, that being kind just makes you a target. I've been there. I felt that instinct to close off, to build walls, to protect myself by shutting down. But over time, I've come to understand something that changed my life completely. No matter how badly someone treats you, you can still choose to live with love, not hate. Now, I'm not saying love means ignoring the pain or pretending it didn't hurt. That's not what love is. Love isn't about letting people walk all over you or excusing the wrong they've done. Living the love doesn't mean you don't get angry or disappointed. What it means is that you don't let the darkness they brought into your life take root in your soul. See, hate is heavy. It eats at you. It turns you into someone you're not. When you respond to pain with more pain, you just stay in that cycle. You get stuck. But love breaks the cycle. It says, yes, you hurt me, but I won't carry that forward. I'm going to be bitter, not bitter. It takes real strength to keep your heart open after it's been broken, to smile again after being betrayed, to still treat others with respect when you've been disrespected. But that strength, that's what defines you. That's what sets you apart. Because the world doesn't need more people hardened by hurt. The world needs people who rise above it. People who refuse to become the thing that broke them. There have been times when I was so angry, I could barely breathe. Times when the last thing I wanted to do was be kind or gracious. I wanted to lash out. I wanted to shut down. But every time I chose to love instead, to treat others with dignity, to keep my integrity, I walked away feeling stronger, not weaker, because love doesn't mean losing. It means rising. I'm not going to let what happened define my character. You know, it's not about the other person at the end of the day. How about showing them how unaffected you are or trying to prove a point? It's about who you are becoming in the process. Pain doesn't have to poison you. You can feel every bit of it and still decide, I won't let this harden me. And when you live that way, when you choose love over hate, something powerful happens. You create peace inside yourself. You start to live free, not because everything is perfect, not because you've never been hurt, but because you've made a choice to rise above it. You've made a decision to not carry resentment into your future. I've met people who've carried hate for years, people who let what someone did to them a decade ago define every move they make. And you can see it in their eyes. They're tired. They're angry. They're stuck. But then I've also seen people who've been through unspeakable things, and yet they radiate peace. They speak with kindness. They love deeply, not because they haven't been hurt, but because they made a conscious decision not to live in that hurt forever. That's what I'm talking about. That choice, that decision to love, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because that's when it matters most. Anybody can love when life is easy. Anybody can smile when things are going well. But when life's deep, when betrayal shows up, when the storm hits, what you do then, that's who you really are. So no, don't take revenge. Don't let hate shape your life. Don't let someone's cruelty steal your kindness. Keep your heart soft, even when the world tries to harden it. Keep showing up with love, not because it's easy, but because it's who you choose to be. Because when you live with love, you win every time.